And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off.
Go ahead and say it, Ed. Go Tigers!
When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
You like that? You like that?
F it. Jamar's down there somewhere.
The New Orleans Saints select Marcus Davenport.
No!
Splash Brothers. Yeah.
It's playoff. Keep going, Brace.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Welcome to Chasing the Trophy Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Derek Sanders, coming back at you with my good friend and our producer, Clay Williams. We are coming in here for episode 2. And as you know, we are glad to be back, but we have got a lot of content to cover. And this episode, new players, new faces, new places. We are going to cover the wide receivers and tight ends on this pod. And, like we prefaced before, we've got a lot of content to cover. I'm not going to really go over all the expectations and everything like I did before, but this one, pretty much any free agent, rookie, or trade moves that were made in the offseason since the end of last season up to this point for wide receivers and tight ends, we're going to cover if we think they're necessary. So that's what we're going to go over here. I want to thank our sponsors. Big Reed BBQ, Mimi's Children's Boutique, Duggan Moen Farm and Feed, Crown Detailing, and Championship Carts. Thank y'all for supporting us. We really appreciate it. And then also, I want to go ahead and read off our title sponsor is going to be Mimi's Children's Boutique, located in Jonesboro, that fulfills all clothing needs for your little ones. Owners, Melissa Johnson and Megan Rao. Now Megan Harrell. You got to correct that, Clay.
That is true. Wow.
Offer children and baby boutique brand clothing and accessories. You're welcome, Megan. I did catch that. Children brand clothing and accessories, vinyl print t-shirts, and so much more. You can find them on Main Street in Jonesboro from 10 to 6 Tuesday through Friday and 10 to 2 on Saturday. And they might have updated hours. I'm not 100% sure on that. Clay, but you might want to check with them on that.
They do have an updated name. Because I think they came into the pod last year in August, and she got married in September, so it was right after. And we've been doing it for a year without even reading it.
Yeah, so it took me a year, Megan, but I did catch it eventually.
That's right, yeah.
So, but anyway, thank y'all for supporting us. We really appreciate it. Y'all go out, support Mimi's. If you got kids or you got grandkids, you got baby showers coming up, they got all the stuff you need, especially your team stuff. I've seen some good LSU and Saints stuff come out of there, and Tech, I believe. So, whatever you need for your kids' needs, go check them out, support them. They support us. We really appreciate it. Next, we're going to go ahead and jump right on and we're going to pray, and then we're going to get started.
Before you do that, I forgot to mention on the last one, I'm not sure if you've seen on Facebook the kid out in Weston. That baseball player. He's going to be a senior this upcoming year. He tragically died in a mowing accident, ran over a wire.
Oh, goodness.
And
electrocuted or something.
Yeah, very, very insane situation.
Okay.
But I got to interview him with our little DVS Spotlight series.
Oh, he was baseball,
he was a pitcher for them, 6'3", very tall kid.
I know one of their coaches real well. I need to reach out. Corby Borders.
Okay.
Corby.
Yeah.
I went to church with him. He goes to Ebenezer now, him and his family, because he coaches there. His boys are really involved in the youth there. Mm-hmm. But I ran into Corby the other day at Home Depot, but he went to our church. They went to our church for a while. Good folks, man.
This kid, whenever I even interviewed him, some of his motivations were his youth pastor and hobbies going to church, very faith-based kid. So it's very sad situation, and just another loss in Jackson Parish that just sucks. But
definitely we're going to say a prayer for them right now and intro this, and we'll get started. Lord, just thank you for blessing us, giving us this opportunity. Just please be with this young man that in this tragic situation, be with his family. God, just give them comfort and peace. Just put your hand on them and just kind of, let them know that, give them direction and just help them understand that I know it's a very grim and dark time for them, Lord, but just help them know that this was, you have a plan for them, and you have a plan for this, for whatever it is. We may not always see it, we may not know it now, but that they will hopefully just help them understand that and see that plan, and show that to them, that and it seems like this young man was very, very devout, and dedicated to you, Lord, and serving you in his community and being involved in his church. We hate to lose somebody like that on earth, but if it was his time and you're calling him home and he's up there with you, Lord, you've got bigger plans and needs for him up there. Let us not be, just help his parents to understand that, know that he's up there with you, and celebrate with you in heaven, Lord, and just be with them in the community as they're mourning and suffering, Lord, but just kind of give them comfort and some peace, and that to know that it's in your plan and your will, Lord, that to call him home, and that he's up there with you, Lord. Just help them know that, understand that, and just thank you for giving us this opportunity to come and pray for these people publicly, Lord, and just thank you for everything you continue to bless us with. Thank you for this game of football that we get to talk about and that we enjoy talking about, Lord. And just thank you for everything you've continued done to bless us and giving us this opportunity. Just let us continue to go and shine a light for you, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen. And yeah, man, that's terrible. There's been a lot of loss in Jackson Parish. It really has recently, and I thought I'll be praying for their family for sure. Definitely, and we'll mention that on the Crossroads pod too, coming up. That way we can get the word out to the people that listen to that. So, but yeah, so I appreciate you bringing that up, because that's definitely what we want to do, is be praying for people like that for sure, Clay. So, but getting back onto the pod, because we have a lot of wide receiver and tight end moves to talk about. Don't forget, after this episode, we're going to be talking about breakout players on our next pod, probably bust players, sleeper players, bounce back players, and like I preluded on the last pod, we're going to break those up into separate episodes, so to hopefully shorten those up for y'all, and then that way it might make it a little bit easier, more efficient for y'all listening out there for us. So we appreciate that, guys, everybody that's out there listening. And like I talked about in the last one, not going to talk about the latest news and injury updates at this time, even though Willie Snead did sign with a team. Clay brought that up on the last pod. Man, I'm so thankful Willie Snead signed with the Dolphins. He's going to have such an impact this year at wide receiver. But anyway, so that's the latest news. That's all you get right there. But we'll update though at news and injury updates a little bit closer to the season. But right now we're going to jump right on into wide receiver and tight ends, new faces, new places. And at wide receiver, number one for me, it's got to be a huge one that I did not see coming, really. It's got to be Keenan Allen going from the Chargers to Chicago. I mean, I knew he couldn't stay a Charger forever. It seemed like it. But going to Chicago, where DJ Moore already is, I mean, and then they drafted Rome Odunze. But that was before they traded for, or did they sign or trade? I can't remember how he got there. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Keenan? They traded.
Yeah. So they traded fourth round pick, which I think was great. I don't know why the Saints can't do something like that.
God.
Like we keep talking about. But anyway, don't even get me started. Yeah, like we're drafting those type people in the fourth round. Like they're just falling off on us, Lord. Yeah. Anyway, but anyway, Keenan Allen going to Chicago. Honestly, I don't know if I definitely don't think it's an upgrade. He is an outstanding route runner and a great wide receiver. He's not getting any younger. He stayed healthy for the most part last year.
Yeah.
But I can't say it's a wash for quarterback, because I don't know how Williams is going to do. You can't say, because I mean Justin Herbert's a proven passer in the NFL. Elite, I don't know if you could go that far, but he is definitely competent and able to I lost my word here. Not stabilize, but maintain multiple wide receivers fantasy-wise.
Yeah.
We don't know if Caleb Williams can do that, but he is going to have the opportunity with DJ Moore Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze. But that's not necessarily a good thing for Keenan Allen because he's got DJ Moore and Rome Odunze to contend with. And then you got Cole Kmet. And then you got DeAndre Swift. That's a lot of mouths to feed. But Keenan Allen, in his route running, he is a possession guy. I feel like he's still going to get those short yardage, multiple target, 8 to 10 targets a game, probably 7 catches if Williams is very efficient, at least. So I think he's going to be efficient. I think he's going to be relevant. Is he going to be that top end wide receiver we've been used to? I don't think so. But I do think it's not a terrible situation for him. But I'm not 100% sure it's an upgrade. I don't think. I think if anything, you probably got to lean toward the downgrade side just because of the mouths to feed and the volume and his age and the quarterback question mark. But Keenan Allen going from the Chargers to Chicago on a trade.
Yeah, I love Keenan. He's down at 31 on the ADP for receivers.
And that's probably about right.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, I mean, like you said, DJ Moore is definitely the one there. And Odunze has a real chance to come in and just have that rookie to rookie connection with Caleb.
Yep.
I think Keenan's going to be in for a good year still, but you can't really expect wide receiver 1 production anymore. But at the same time, maybe the lack of touches a little bit will help him for the long haul stay healthy and still be a productive wide receiver 2 or 3. So
and if one of those if Moore, they got Allen listed as the 1, but it's like a 1A, 1B, maybe a 2 or a 1A, 1B, 1C. But either way, Keenan Allen.
All 3 of those guys could have 1,000 yards, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, and the thing is, it really hinders all of them. Yeah. From a fantasy standpoint. So, Keenan Allen, Chargers, Chicago. Next guy. I might be more excited about this move than a lot of these moves that I'm going to talk about here in a little bit. But Marquise Brown from Arizona to Kansas City. It's definitely a boost for Marquise Brown. I don't care if Rashee Rice is there or not, and they drafted a rookie, Travis Kelce's there. Dude, you go from Arizona's offense, which Kyler wasn't there for a while with him, but you go from Arizona's offense to Kansas City's offense, quarterback play to scheme, all this, that, and the other. That's definitely got to be a boost for Marquise Brown, who's not. He is not just a regular Joe at wide receiver.
Oh yeah.
We've seen him be successful in Baltimore. We've seen him be successful in Arizona.
He was successful in Baltimore with the run-heavy scheme, not even the more pass-friendly scheme that we saw the past couple of years.
So I think this is a boost for him for sure.
Yeah.
Better quarterback, better scheme. Mahomes is coming out of camp saying Brown is way more than just a deep threat. Okay? Mm-hmm. If what does that tell you if Mahomes is saying that about him? That they're not just throwing the ball deep. They might be using him all over the place. Yeah. And personally, I know Rice looked good. He emerged last year, but it is not out of the realm to believe somebody with Brown's experience could come in and be a 1 and Rice go back to being a 2 and serving in the role he was last year.
Yeah, and you got to bring in the factor of Rice and his off-field incidents this past season.
Oh, God bless America.
I think he misses at least 4 games. There's also been rumors up to 8 games. So, that would be significant in terms of fantasy for Hollywood. And that's a big situation to watch.
And once again, I'll keep saying it until it happens. Kelce ain't getting no younger. I don't know how he's doing it. I don't know if he found the fountain of youth or what. And more power to him because he keeps doing it. But he ain't getting no younger.
They're filming. I think this year they're doing some type of filming with him and Taylor Swift about the football season.
Lord.
So expect him to have an awesome year. That's all I'm saying.
Well, and I will tell you, I do think they might have drafted his replacement. And we're going to talk about him later on in this pod. Not a lot because I don't have a lot of information about him, but I've had 2 different analysts on podcasts talk about this guy as being like Travis Kelce number 2.
All right.
So we'll see. But anyway, Marquise Brown from Arizona to Kansas City. I think it's a boost for Brown. I think it's a boost for Mahomes. I think it's a boost for this offense. Because he's by far their biggest move in the wide receiver realm that they've made in a while.
Yeah. I love Hollywood. I'm very excited for this. Number 45 on wide receivers as well. So.
Great value there. And then next, Calvin Ridley, Jacksonville to Tennessee. What more? I mean, if anything, what more can you say about Tennessee? But I think it's a wash for Jack Ridley as a wide receiver. It's pretty much an identical situation. You go from being behind Kirk, we thought really was going to be the one, but really he was the two. Mm-hmm. You go from being behind Kirk to now you're behind Hopkins. Okay. And then the quarterback play, you probably take a decline there. But as far as offensive scheme, you're going into a coach that was the offensive coordinator at Cincinnati. You're probably looking at a better offensive scheme, considering what we've seen in Jacksonville. I hate to say that because I really thought that Doug Peterson's scheme was going to be a lot better than it was.
Everything in Jacksonville was kind of a disappointment last year. And I'm shocked to look at Ridley's stats last year, and he had 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. I did not remember that.
Yeah,
I felt like it was
maybe the 1,000 yards, but not the 8 touchdowns.
Yeah,
because he had some big 150 yard games with some big catches, but he still got it. I think he's going to be very relevant with Will Levis as long as Will Levis isn't just a dud. With that quarterback and that offensive scheme coming in, I think it's going to be great. Hopkins, Boyd, but he does maybe have – I think it's about the same mouths to feed for him too. Between Hopkins, Boyd, Okakwu, Pollard, Spears –
yeah,
I think it's a walk. I think you're going to see the same Ridley.
We saw O'Callahan do it with Chase, Higgins, and Boyd. So why can't he do it with Hopkins, Ridley, and Boyd?
Maybe, very well. So either way, I think you probably see what you saw out of him last year.
Yeah.
So
and that's a good thing.
That's right. He is a very serviceable flex wide receiver too. Bottom wide receiver
25
flex.
On the draft board right now.
Yeah, and that's probably
above
fair.
Hopkins. Interestingly, Hopkins is at 33.
I still think Hopkins is over him with his chemistry with Levis.
I would take Hopkins at 33.
I would take Hopkins over him for sure.
Yeah.
But moving on, next guy, I do have some rookies because of their big name and their talent coming up. I got to put them in there. But next has got to be Marvin Harrison Jr. going into Arizona. Harrison supposedly generational wide receiver, and I only say supposedly because you can't say he is until he becomes one.
Yeah.
Honestly. But generational wide receiver talent, relieving Hollywood Brown, the wide receiver one duties in Arizona. You got a healthy Kyler Murray, which is great news for him. So a solid quarterback, no target competition at all. I mean, I'm looking 15 targets probably every game for Harrison probably. Yeah. A pretty good situation for a young wide receiver looking to get a bunch of work coming in. Solid chance their defense is going to be bottom of the barrel, so they're going to be a lot of negative game scripts, a lot of offensive pass-heavy game scripts. The only person that will have as many targets close is going to be Trey McBride, I think.
Yeah.
Michael Wilson's there, but everybody's like, who the freak's Mike Wilson? I'm like, who's Mike Jones? I don't know. But Michael Wilson's there, but I think Trey McBride is going to be a solid top-end fantasy production, but we'll talk about him later.
Michael Wilson,
not in this pod, but in a breakout pod.
Michael Wilson had an okay rookie year. I mean, 500 yards, 3 touchdowns last year. So he's not awful, but MHJ is
he is ready and primed to go.
Yeah,
you keep Kyler off the Xbox console and on the game, and I think him and Harrison are going to make. I think it's going to be a great year for both of them.
Yeah,
honestly.
And the best thing about this is that it feels like wide receivers, especially these top ones that everyone loves, those hit in terms of fantasy more than anybody.
Yeah,
like I mean, you really can't think of like a Jamar Chase or anybody. All them guys that come in. They were awesome and very quickly.
Yeah.
So I think you can feel pretty safe about him, even as number 13 wide receiver on the board. Like I think that feels fine.
And then you got after Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors going to the Giants. Okay. Honestly, unless you live under a rock, you know where all these guys are. But I just got to mention them because they're new to where they're at. But anyway, Malik Neighbors going to the Giants. I guess you could say replacing Sterling Shepard as the wide receiver one. I mean,
nobody
knows who their wide receiver. They don't have a wide receiver.
They don't have a wide receiver one.
They got Malik Neighbors now, but honestly, it's pretty much the same as Harrison, if not better. The only thing is he probably doesn't have as good a quarterback play. Daniel Jones has got the potential, but we haven't seen him live up to that yet. But no competition for targets at all. And honestly, if anything, they're just pretty much completely restructuring their whole offense because they had Barkley, they let him go, and now they're restructuring their whole offense around Neighbors. Yeah. You could make the argument that he has a better season than Harrison.
Yeah.
Because
there's some people that thought he was the better player coming out of the draft.
At least that Arizona has Kyler Murray, and they probably structured around him. But the Giants aren't structuring that offense around Daniel Jones or anybody else. It is the Malik Neighbors show. I mean, it would not be out of the realm for him to see 15 to 20 targets every game.
Yeah.
I mean, every game. So I'm big on Malik Neighbors. I was not until I started diving in. The only thing that can go against Malik Neighbors is if Daniel Jones starts throwing interceptions more often than he does passes.
And he probably will.
And he might. But they might just start handing the ball off to Neighbors for all we know.
Yeah.
I mean, because they ain't got. I mean, you got Devin Singletary.
Not the easiest of divisions as well. Playing against Philadelphia cornerback one and Dallas's cornerback ones. So
I will say the only bad thing is he's probably going to see a lot of double coverage.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
same
Harrison at least has. Probably. Well, at least he has. I feel like Michael Wilson's a lot better than Malik Neighbors' backup. I
don't even know who the two is in San Francisco.
Don't even worry. I got you. I think it's Darius Slayton still, but they got. Let's see, Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, and I have been hearing a lot of good buzz out of Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Hyatt. Okay. But their big offensive signings were Allen Robinson and Isaiah McKenzie. So
I mean, I will say this: if you're a Giants fan, that's probably the best receiver room you've had in 10 years?
Yeah. Yeah, probably. And Darius Slayton was there then.
Yeah, so, Slayton's not bad. Slayton he just couldn't be the one anymore. He can be a two, I think.
But anyway, Wan'Dale Robinson's good, and they say Jalen Hyatt, his lost. I mean, I think he lost or put on some weight maybe for him.
Probably put on,
and he is making some big plays and looking good, and so does Wan'Dale Robinson.
He's your deep threat guy.
They might have to sag off more, Neighbors than we're thinking. So, anyway, Malik Neighbors going to the Giants, big move. This next one I am super pumped about, and I was not at first until I started diving in, but Stephon Diggs going from Buffalo to Houston. For one, we don't have to hear another word about Diggs being unhappy, asking for a trade, and then him having to deny it, and everybody in the locker room deny it. And, because he really did ask for a trade, but he don't want nobody to know, blah, blah, blah. So, all right, finally, he got traded. All right, so now he's in Houston. Let's see if he's happy. I don't know. But good and well they didn't trade for him after hearing all that, not to use him. And I don't care what anybody says. Nico Collins ain't the one. I don't care. It's Stephon Diggs' show. I still think he is at least a possession receiver. Now, is Collins the goal line? Is Collins the goal line threat? The big wide receiver of the goal line, the touchdown catches? Probably so. But is Diggs going to be more open than Collins? With his route running ability and his smoothness, it could be a good chance that Diggs is open at the goal line more than Nico Collins is getting a jump ball. But either way, I think Diggs is the one, personally. It's a
very interesting situation, honestly.
It sure is.
And you got to mention Tank Dell.
I think with Diggs already being a one in a very high-powered offense, dude, you can't tell me he ain't coming in that wide receiver room and showing Collins and Tank Dell some stuff. I'm just saying, now, is he the number one in 2 years? Probably not. But he's still got plenty in the tank to be the number one now, personally. I think this is a great move for him because he wanted out. It's a great move for Houston as far as Stroud's concerned. I think it's all good for Diggs. I like him and his value.
Yeah, I agree with that. Looking at the ESPN rankings, Nico at 15, Diggs at 20, Dell at 30 for wide receiver. Yeah. So that's three guys in the top 30, which is insane to say on its own. I think Nico, definitely the big play threat. Diggs, definitely the guy that's going to be 8 catches for 80 yards, and you'll take that every day.
Yeah,
but Nico might have 4 catches for 120 and a touchdown.
And I think Tank Dell, because they throw the ball 60 times, I think Tank Dell's still going to get 5 to 7 targets at least. He might bust one to the house,
Yeah, definitely.
And
Tank Dell's going to be awesome still.
If they throw the ball 60 times, I don't think it's out of the realm for them to support 3 wide receivers. But I think that Diggs and Collins are definitely probably going to be the leaders in points. And I think Diggs will probably be the leaders in targets and catches. Now, Collins could very well be the leader in touchdowns, but Tank Dell could be the leader in average yards per catch.
And you still got to mention, I think Noah Brown is still there, and he had, with some of the games that Nico was banged up, Noah Brown was awesome. So it's still another guy to.
I don't think he factors in without an injury.
Probably not.
But if they do have an injury, I think he just step into whatever. Yeah. Well, I say step in. He's not going to step in the Tank Dell role. No. But nobody's stepping in the Tank Dell role there because ain't nobody fast enough.
Yeah.
But
it's just another guy. That receiver room's just awesome. So, also, Robert Woods is there. I think he'll get cut. But still, it just shows how much talent they have there.
If they keep him, they'll put him in, and everybody will know they're running the ball.
Yeah, probably.
Unfortunately. But so, all right, this is the way I see this situation playing out. Keenan Allen and Michael Williams in Los Angeles. Diggs is Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
Collins is Mike Williams. I don't know who Tank Dell is, but
a player that the Chargers didn't even have.
He might be Austin Eckler, honestly, and Joe Mixon might be, the pass blocker for all we know.
Then you got to factor in Dalton Schultz, who had a good year.
He
had a good year last year. Yeah,
but honestly, you're trying to get the ball to your best playmakers. Is Dalton Schultz in that category?
No, but it's a serviceable tight end for sure.
He is, but
there's so much talent.
Yeah, it is, and it just makes me want to draft C.J. Stroud because his value is. Where's he going?
He's going to be awesome. He's the number 6 quarterback right now.
Oh, really? That's okay. That's a lot
62
higher
overall.
than I thought. Then, that's probably about right.
And it should be because he's going to be awesome.
Yeah. But anyway, Diggs, Buffalo to Houston. Got to keep moving on because we got a lot to talk about. Next guy, Deontay Johnson in Pittsburgh, going to Carolina. I don't even know. It's like one purgatory to the next. Honestly, you felt like he kind of got robbed because he finally gets out of there and they get a better quarterback. And, what can you say? Johnson gets traded before he gets a better quarterback. That stinks for him. And so he goes to another poor quarterback because I can't say Bryce Young's a good quarterback because I don't think so. He comes to a more crowded wide receiver room personally because he's got Adam Thielen to deal with. Then he's got Jonathan Mingo, and then the rookie that they're pretty high on Xavier Leggett, who I hear is like Jonathan Mingo's twin pretty much as far as the way they play is what they're talking about. Then you still got Terrence Marshall, so I don't feel like I do feel like he's probably going to step in, be that wide receiver one. But is it a good situation? Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
I've always been a big fan of Deontay Johnson and his game.
This was another move that I felt like the Saints could have made, and I'm dying to know why they didn't. Yeah. And that's what I put on here, Saints, please, because he could be trade bait for the end of the year.
Yeah, definitely.
And I would love to see him go to New Orleans because I like him too as well.
Yeah, the only positive I guess you could take away from the Carolina situation would be that yes, Bryce Young looked pretty bad last year, but honestly, he didn't have much around him.
He's got untapped potential.
Yeah, and the O-line got a lot better. They added 2 or 3 guys for a lot of big money. They brought in David Canales from Tampa Bay, who made Geno Smith look good, and then he made Baker look good. So maybe he can make Bryce Young look good as well.
Yep.
But Deontay's a good player. You know what you're going to get out of him.
Yep. And moving on, one guy we talked about a bit earlier, Tyler Boyd, going from Cincinnati to Tennessee, finally gets out of the shadows of Chase and Higgins, only to find himself in the shadows of Ridley and Hopkins. So, but honestly, new place, same offensive coordinator. He's got it as his head coach now. Honestly, he didn't bring him there not to use him. So I feel like there's a good solid chance that he's going to have some work. Is he going to be the workhorse? No, but he's going to have opportunity. And obviously, if Hopkins gets injured, he's going to step into that role just like before. Mm-hmm. But he's in a new place. Definitely a downgraded quarterback, but everything else probably seems like a wash to me. as far as that goes, just a downgrade at quarterback. And Will Levis can emerge. He can take a step forward. I don't think he's going to be Joe Burrow because I think they'd have seen that coming.
Yeah.
But, Boyd, Cincinnati, Tennessee, a little bit of a downgrade because of the quarterback. But other than that, pretty much same situation for him.
Yeah.
A high-end wide receiver handcuff.
Yeah, and I think you do see a little bit of a bigger gap, I guess you could say, towards touches because Chase and Higgins are definitely going to take the ball majority of the time. With Ridley and Hopkins, they're a little bit behind them too, I would say.
Yeah.
Not a ton, but still, a little bit behind. So maybe Boyd does get something there, but
yeah.
I mean, you know who Boyd is.
Yeah, that's right.
Solid player, and it's always a good fill in if someone gets hurt or if you got a guy on a bye. You can always count on Boyd to have a solid day.
Yep. So Tyler Boyd, Cincinnati to Tennessee. Next guy, probably more pumped about this one than I thought before I started researching it. Darnell Mooney going from Chicago to Atlanta. Okay. And you're probably like, man, I was like, that doesn't really sound that exciting. But it's like he was thought to be the successor for Allen Robinson at one time in a terrible offense and terrible offensive scheme. Multiple quarterback, Trubisky, and then Justin Fields, who had no offensive line and time to get the ball to him. He led Chicago at one time as a wide receiver. And I just don't think he ever got a fair shake, to live up to his talent. Now gets a lot better offensive scheme, by far a better quarterback situation. He's not going to see the CB1s. That's going to go to Drake London.
Mm-hmm.
I think Darnell Mooney could show some stuff in Atlanta in this offense. So there's a lot of positive buzz. He's making a lot of big plays in Atlanta. Drake London's supposed to be the guy, but man, Darnell Mooney could sneak in there and be a really solid wide receiver for them.
Yeah. I love Darnell Mooney. I've had him probably 2 or 3 times the past couple of years in fantasy. This is a guy you mentioned at the Saints. I would have loved to bring him down there.
Yeah.
Played at Tulane, so it would have been perfect.
Yeah.
And this is a situation where, usually you see a guy go from a, open room to crowded room, and you're like, that's a negative. I think it's a positive for Mooney. Because, in Chicago, yes, he was pretty much the one for most of the time until they got DJ Moore. But there really wasn't much of a QB there. Now he's probably 4th or 5th in line for touches, but I think that's just going to make him thrive, honestly, because he's not a 1, and he might not even be a 2. He might be closer to a 3, but I think he's just going to be in a really good situation here. And I
think with the opportunity, he's still young enough. He could easily be a 2 with I think there's too much untapped potential
absolutely
that we have not seen because of his situation.
Yeah. Absolutely love that move overall though.
Yeah, I think it was great.
51 overall for the wide receivers.
Yeah, sucks for New Orleans, but
everything does.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So, but anyway, moving on. Gabe Davis, Buffalo to Jacksonville. I really wasn't sure I'd see this happening after the Diggs move because they don't have much left there. But
they still
Gabe
don't.
Davis, Buffalo to Jacksonville, and honestly, this is another one of those situations. I feel like it's the same name, a new place. Christian Kirk's the one, the possession guy like Diggs was. Davis is probably going to be the deep threat, so he's still going to be the second option on a team with a pretty solid quarterback play, pretty much the same offensive type scheme, and he should probably have solid boomer bust value. Just like I think he's going to be Calvin Ridley 2.0 again. Might come up with 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. So and that's fairly close to what he did in Buffalo.
The only thing here is that it just depends on how much you think Brian Thomas Jr. does this year.
They're saying that right now, they're saying it is clear Christian Kirk, Gabe Davis, and Brian Thomas is not in the mix at wide receiver 2 yet.
That's interesting.
But we know how talented he is.
Yes, and that is the thing. Thomas and Davis are similar players. So I think, if you go to a 3 receiver set, you maybe see them 2 on the outside, Kirk in the slot. That could work, but also you might only see Thomas go out there as a breather for Davis, or if Davis gets banged up.
I think you're right. I think it's going to be one of those situations. If they go to 3 wide receiver set, we're going to see Thomas. If they don't, it's not going to be Thomas.
And you also got to factor in Evan Ingram, who's very good last
Yep.
year, and Travis Etienne, who
Yep.
gets a lot of work out of the backfield.
So a lot of mouths to feed,
absolutely.
but either way, Gabe Davis, pretty much similar situation.
Yeah.
Because you had Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, James Cook, same thing in Buffalo. I feel like same thing for him, just new place. Gabe Davis to Jacksonville. Next guy, Mike Williams from the Chargers to the Jets, coming off an ACL tear. He's still on the PUP list, but I've been reading. It says if all goes according, if he keeps working, no setbacks, he should be back for week 1. Aaron Rodgers seems to be healthy. Pretty much to me, it's a wash in quarterback play. Maybe a little bit of an upgrade for Rodgers. Him going to Rodgers, but
yeah.
Rodgers, we haven't seen him play.
Given the scheme, you expect a little bit more or a little bit less throwing in New York than you got in New York. Especially
because
with
Brees Hall.
Yeah.
So either way, Mike Williams, I think it's probably a similar situation for him in the Chargers.
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson's still going to be possession, big, and even a big play guy. He's just, he's a solid wide receiver. I think he's being undervalued this year.
Awesome.
I think he's being undervalued this year for where he's at, just because everybody's afraid Rodgers is going to get hurt and then he's going to look like he did last year. But if Rodgers don't get hurt, you're talking Devontae Adams. In his prime.
He is.
So.
Man.
Anyway, but Mike Williams, and that helps Mike Williams because he's going to get so much attention. So I like Mike Williams in this situation. I think it's probably best for him to get a new scheme, new situation.
That was one thing I'm going to say. This felt like he needed a new fresh start. Especially because you think of Mike Williams, you think injuries. Ever since before he got in the league, when he broke his neck at Clemson. Everything about Mike Williams needed this fresh start. I really like this spot for him. Number 43 overall wide receiver. I'll take.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty decent value. So,
it really is.
I think it's probably all positives for Mike Williams.
Just hope that MetLife turf
for the
doesn't
most part
hurt him like it does everybody else.
Dude, I'm telling you, I can't believe they ain't got rid of turf.
Yeah.
I know it's a lot less upkeep, but man, dude, you can't tell me the stats aren't racking up for injuries for people on turf. But anyway. So next guy that I really feel like this move kind of went under the radar because I didn't even realize it until I was researching these moves. And Jerry Jeudy going from Denver to Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
Never really living up to the hype, I feel like, in Denver. But now he's out.
He came into the league being like, this is the next receiver.
I know. And but maybe he can finally stay healthy and live up to the hype. New move, new place. Fresh start. I definitely think it's an upgrade in the quarterback position. And maybe offensive scheme, it's hard to say because I don't feel like Peyton's plans have worked out yet. So, we know Sean Payton's schemes are pretty legit when they get going and they work, but definitely right now an upgrade in a scheme.
Yeah, the Cleveland offense has been really good the past couple of years. The only thing is it is a lot more conservative as opposed to Sean Payton's scheme.
Yeah. And he probably has a little bit more mouths to feed, a little bit more competition with Cooper and Njoku already established. Elijah Moore, but I feel like he overtakes Elijah Moore pretty easily in his talent.
And you don't really know exactly when Chubb's going to come back. He might miss the first week or two, but when he comes back, he's going to be Nick Chubb still.
I think it's probably a good move for Jeudy, but I don't know. I think it's a wait and see as far as I think it's
a similar move to Darnell Mooney. Where it's like a guy with a lot of talent in a bad situation. He goes to he goes to a place where
better situation.
Yeah, he goes to a place where there's maybe more mouths to feed, and yes, there's a better quarterback, but it might be good that he has less targets. Honestly, and looking at the rankings, he's 52. Darnell Mooney's 51. So I guess that kind of
dude. If that ain't some guys that you kind of put on your bench for later on in the draft, to play the flex maybe. And same with this next guy, Curtis Samuel going from Washington to Buffalo.
Love
it. Now, the only thing about this one is there ain't nobody competing hardly. You got Khalil Shakir that they seem to be banking on.
Yeah,
he did, but dude, Curtis Samuel ain't never got a chance to be the one. And we've seen him all over the field. And I just feel like this is a great situation for him coming into Buffalo. It was an upgrade at quarterback. Daniels, we don't know what he's got in it. He left there. He had Sam Howell, who was serviceable, but you got Josh Allen. A lot less competition for targets because he was number 3 over there behind Dotson and McLaurin. So love this move for Curtis Samuel. I think he is easily the wide receiver 2 there. I mean, you never know. He's definitely could be that take over that Diggs role where he's the possession guy.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was about to say. You lost Diggs and Gabe Davis. Like someone's got to get those targets. Yeah, Kincaid probably gets a little bit of an uptick, but how much more can he even get from last year?
That's right.
But between Shakir, Samuel, and the rookie Keon Coleman, someone's going to come out of that as the top dog, and I think there's a good chance it is Samuel.
Solid chance he's got a good chance at a wide receiver 2 value, I think.
56.
And I was about to say way down there too.
Yeah.
Next guy, probably not as confident in his position, but I do think it's an upgrade for him. DJ Chark going from Carolina to the Chargers. Now, he is one of those that is not a 1 or a 2 on the depth chart for him, but I think he's got enough potential and worth being talked about on this new place, new face. Because when he has been healthy, he's been pretty decent.
Yeah.
When he was in Detroit. Now, I feel like in Carolina, he didn't really have, terrible offensive scheme, terrible quarterback, couldn't stay healthy. I mean, the list goes on for him. But now he's at the Chargers. He finally gets out of purgatory in Carolina. Allen and Williams are gone. Tons of targets left. Okay. Now, we've already established we don't think they're going to throw as much as they did last year.
Certainly.
But still lost their
1 throw the ball at some
and
point.
2. They still lost their 1 and 2. Josh Palmer's presumed to be the 1 right now. You got the rookie Lad McConkey. We don't know what we have in him yet because with rookies, you never know what they're going to do until they play.
Absolutely.
A lot of hype around him. He's listed as the 2. But if he gets out there starry-eyed and, doesn't know what the freak he's going on, it ain't going to take long for DJ Chark to get in there. And if he can stay healthy with Justin Herbert under center, a huge quarterback upgrade for him. So I think this is something that we could see DJ Chark being very productive in this offense if given the opportunity and everything aligns, right.
Yeah, and you also got to mention Quentin Johnston, another one that kind of like with McConkey. You got to just wait and see because before last year, everybody thought, Quentin's going to be awesome as the number 2 role.
Yep,
and he just looked awful.
Took him my first pick in my rookie draft in my dynasty league.
He was awful.
Yeah.
Just to kind of get a landscape of what this Chargers receiving room is, Ladd's listed at 48 for receivers. You have Johnston at 65, Palmer at 66.
Oh my gosh, Palmer's
Chark at 78.
Dude, Palmer's listed as 1 right now.
Yeah.
Just FYI on depth chart. So
that's 4 receivers between the 48 and 78 range. Someone's going to come out of that needing targets.
So while we're on that, I think that's enough about DJ Chark.
Yes.
The last 3 guys are rookies, and we're going to go ahead and go talk about Lad McConkey because we're already on the Chargers.
Yeah.
So Lad drafted by the Chargers in a barren wide receiver room, but right now he's listed as the 2. But like we just talked about Chark, Lad's supposed to be, a change in wide receiver for him. But you still can't assume yet. It's definitely a position for McConkey to be a very good, helpful fantasy asset, but we got to see it first.
He's not Marvin Harrison or Malik Neighbors.
No, because if he was, we don't know about it.
Yeah.
But anyway, Lad McConkey there. Another wide receiver that I want to talk about in a position that could be making some wakes is Xavier Worthy for Kansas City. Got drafted by Kansas City. He's listed as the wide receiver 3 already. And they still got Sky Moore. They still got Kadarius Toney, but he's still the 3 on the depth chart. And
Cole Hardman's still there.
Yeah, they re-signed him, but he has been getting some buzz.
Yeah.
And a lot of big plays in camp. And, wide receivers really unpredictable.
Yeah.
So I think Worthy's somebody you kind of you look at. I don't know if you take a flyer on him in 10 teams yet, but you watch him. But dynasty and keeper leagues, I definitely think he's somebody that could be relevant, and I think it's a wait and see thing, but he's listed at wide receiver 3. If something Rice goes down or gets suspended, like we're talking about, and he steps into that next role, if he goes off, and you got, Marquise Hollywood Brown there doing his thing. I mean,
yeah,
I guarantee Kansas City's one of those teams. They're not married to anybody.
Oh God, no,
not for real. if you're going to get out there and produce,
well, they're married to Travis Kelce, and that's it.
Well, but he gets out there and produces.
Yeah, absolutely.
Honestly though, if Kelce gets out there and he ain't producing, I bet he don't keep getting out there.
Maybe not. Yeah.
I mean, he might be on the team.
Yeah.
They might, but I mean, Andy Reid's legit.
Yeah.
And,
looking at the Kansas City rankings, so Rashee Rice 34 for receivers. He'd probably be higher if he wasn't getting suspended. Hollywood Brown at 45, Xavier Worthy at 47. So that's three guys in a similar. Close. Yeah. Really? I mean,
okay.
Whenever you break the record for the fastest 40-yard dash ever, like there's going to be some little probably height, but too much height.
Don't get me started on the speed relation to being good at football.
John Ross.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that's what I can't tell you how many people have thrown that comp out for this guy. But like, y'all be careful, And I'm like, there's a lot of people saying that he's nothing like Ross. Though.
I saw a clip today from practice of a cornerback playing up close on him and pressing him and just pushed him straight to the ground because that's another thing you got to worry about with him. He's 5'11", 165. That's very, very little. So he might get pushed around a bit, but he's in a good situation where it's the Chiefs and they use their receivers in a weird way and they get the ball in their hands. So,
but Xavier Worthy got drafted by Kansas City, and the last one, certainly not least, because I think he can be more impactful than people estimate. Jalen Polk for New England. Okay, getting drafted New England. Well, we all know New England ain't got that many wide receivers to sneeze at. Demario Douglas, serviceable, but couldn't stay healthy last year. Kendrick Bourne drafted, re-signed there, but I mean, really, when's the last time we talked about Kendrick Bourne really being fantasy relevant?
Yeah.
Like really, and then, so they draft this kid out of Washington, right? Like stud. I mean, and honestly, might have been more known if it wasn't for Odunze.
Yeah, Washington just had between Polk, Odunze, and also Jalen McMillan, who's in Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
they had three incredible receivers.
Yeah, but Polk really has been making some big time plays in camp. He's listed. He's a rookie wide receiver. He's listed as wide receiver 3 behind Douglas and Bourne. But the thing is, he is nothing like them. Yeah. He is a large, big play wide receiver. Go up and grab it in competition with other, and they are not that. They are a little bit shiftier, a little bit smaller wide receivers, where Polk is a different type of player. So I feel like if anybody can emerge from those, it's going to be Polk. Now, he's going to have to do it. He's still a rookie, like we've been talking about, but I think he's a solid chance to end up as a wide receiver 1 sooner rather than later. Yeah. And honestly, a better chance than the other 2 guys we talked about, and even some of these other veterans that we talked about that are wide receiver 2s. He's a big physical wide receiver. And I think it's somebody that they have not had, since Devontae Parker, who retired, because that's how good, he was close to retirement when they finally signed him.
Yeah.
And, but anyway, he's got solid quarterback play with Jacoby Brissett. We've seen him be serviceable, a solid offensive line, a new coaching regime, and an offensive coordinator in Van Pelt that was the OC in Cleveland. So we know he knows how to use big, physical wide receivers like Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
the New England situation is very interesting because they've got probably 8 guys on this team that could be a wide receiver 3 or 4 somewhere.
Yeah.
So I think in 4 weeks we might have a whole new take on this because someone like a Juju or KJ Osborne might get cut. But you got so many guys. Tyquan Thornton, even he's had hype. Kayshon Boutte, Louisiana guys know him. So there's a lot of guys in there, but I like Polk a lot.
Yeah.
I liked all 3 of those Washington receivers, honestly. I think McMillan's even making some waves in Tampa.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah,
they were good for a reason.
That's right. Yeah, well, and that's one thing that I will preface, which we ain't talking about him, and I probably won't waste time talking about him. I think that's why Michael Penix was as good as he was. I hate to say that. I don't think he's that good.
Penix, but I mean, that's certainly a factor. But I think Penix is really good as well.
I don't think so because I don't think he's ever going to play.
He'll play in about 4 years, probably. He'll Jordan love it.
Yeah, he'll be 30 by then.
Yeah, that's true.
31-ish.
Hey, and he'll still own the Saints.
I think, probably. Well, they'll trade him. That's what I was thinking. Atlanta could end up trading him.
Yeah.
Who knows? But anyway,
there's definitely that talk with Jordan Love. So
that's gonna we're gonna wrap up the wide receivers with that. We're gonna jump right on the tight ends. I feel like this will be quicker because there's not as much to really talk about with them.
Yeah, these names are rough.
But and there's not as many, but there are some relevant moves for tight end because we all know tight end's a barren wasteland of talent. Because there's every year that's like one of the segments that we just struggle with waivers because it's like a new
5. You're really kind of just throwing dogs.
And it's not much more. It's going to be about the same this year too, I think. But anyway, Mike Gesicki going from New England to Cincinnati. This is definitely an upgrade for Mike Gesicki.
Yes.
From less competition all the way as far as tight ends are concerned. He's still got wide receivers, but Cincinnati does always find room for those 5 to 6 targets to their tight end, and a lot of the times they end up being in the red zone. And that's great news from Mike Gesicki. I think this is a big move for him. Better quarterback, better scheme, less competition at tight end. Great move for Gesicki going from New England to Cincinnati.
Yeah, this is very interesting. Gesicki, I think if anyone that knows him knows just athletic freak. Yeah, getting into a situation in Miami, you kind of thought he would, but that's just not their scheme.
They don't throw to their tight ends. That's right.
But I like this a lot.
Yep. Next one will be Colby Parkinson going from Seattle to the Rams. And you probably think, why does this matter? Well, that's because Tyler Higbee's still not practicing and he's on the PUP list. And Colby Parkinson was signed to a 3-year deal coming out of Seattle. So if they sign this mug to a 3-year deal, they're going to use him. I'm just saying that might be the block, but if Higbee ain't playing, then it's going to be to catch some balls too. And he did catch some balls in Seattle when he was playing. I don't know if a lot of people remember, Will Dissly was the man until Colby Parkinson showed up.
Yeah.
And and we know if that tight end gets open, Stafford ain't afraid to throw it to him. So anyway, signed to a 3-year deal. He comes in with a better quarterback, a better offensive scheme, and less competition because he had Will Dissly and Noah Fant in Seattle with him. So now all he's got is Higbee, who's on the PUP list.
Yeah.
There you go.
Looking at the tight end rankings on ESPN.
Oh, he's probably way down there, man.
Doesn't even make the top 35.
That's crazy.
That's a shocker to me.
Yeah.
Parkinson, though, he's at 32. But Gesicki not making the top 35 is
Now, obviously, I'm not predicting these guys to be league winners, but if you're streaming tight ends, these are guys you're going to be looking at.
How much
every week
how much different is Mike Gesicki in Cincinnati than Tyler Conklin in New York, who's listed at 17?
Yeah.
And Taysom Hill's at 18. He's not even he just gets the ball. He don't even play.
Yeah, I was about to say. They were like, did you hear what Dennis Allen said? We got some special stuff planned for Taysom Hill this year. Ain't nobody seen that coming.
Power left.
What are you going to do? Kick the ball is he? He's already done kick return, so it's what else can you do with him?
Might be
play him on defense. Play him on defense. We've seen him tackle people.
He can play safety.
Yeah. When he was on kick return, he was freaking truck sticking people.
I could see him like when Julio Jones, they put him at safety for the Hail Marys. Put Taysom back there.
But anyway, Colby Parkinson going to Seattle to the Rams. I like it. Definitely a sleeper, at tight end, especially with Higbee being out and as much action as he's seen.
Yeah, the Rams are a sneaky tight end. They get good production.
Yeah, Stafford.
People don't really think about it.
That's right. And then the next guy, his ex-teammate, Will Dissly, going from Seattle to the Chargers. Okay, we just talked about how target-rich environment because they've lost all their offensive pass catchers. Mm-hmm. Now Will Dissly, who was somewhat pass catching relevant in Seattle, goes to the Chargers, and they signed him for a 3-year deal. You think they ain't gonna use him? Better quarterback, than Uncle Gino. Better offensive scheme than in Seattle, and because it might be a similar scheme because it could be a similar run scheme, but either way, there's still more targets to go around that are vacated, and maybe a little more competition. Maybe because they also signed Hayden Hurst, who I'm going to talk about next.
Yeah.
So, but you know what that tells me? They might run more tight end sets when they're running the ball. And if that's the case, you're going to have Will Dissly and Hayden Hurst breaking out for routes sometimes.
Mark Andrews got the ball in
there you go. Yep.
Baltimore.
So tons of targets vacated. Will Dissly from Seattle, the Chargers. I like that move. Hayden Hurst from Carolina, the Chargers. I like that move because
this is a guy that really played that number 2 role in Baltimore.
That's right. Yep, and I really do think that this is going to be more two tight end sets and allude to them running the ball more, which is better for Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah.
But anyway, for Hayden Hurst, definitely an upgraded quarterback and an upgraded offensive scheme. There's more competition for targets, but they're probably going to be better quality targets for sure. And anyway, I think there's enough targets left to go around for Disley and Hurst with all that's vacated. And it's not like you got a target hog coming in there, in wide receiver. So I think it's one of those, you could probably see both of them get 5-6 targets a game, maybe.
Yeah.
And who knows, one of them might catch a touchdown. We'll find out,
It's kind
one
of
of them might be more relevant
to,
than the other. But
who was it? The Patriots had Hunter Henry and somebody.
Yep.
Was it?
It was Gesicki at one point. Jonnu Smith. They had Jonnu Smith too. And Hunter Henry seems to emerge every time. So if I was going to bet on a guy in New England, it'd be that guy.
Yeah.
And then this next guy we're going to talk about is, you prefaced earlier, went to Miami, because Jonnu Smith goes from Atlanta to Miami. And it's an upgrade at quarterback and maybe offensive scheme because he's going from Karen Smith in Atlanta. But we all know Miami don't throw to their tight ends.
No.
We just talked about that. And I hate it for Jonnu because he's such a talented pass catcher. Maybe he changes it, but if Mike Gesicki doesn't change it, I don't know if Jonnu does.
Yeah. I do like this move though. I think Jonnu's just a good tight end. I could see him being, right now he's listed at 27. I could see him being top 20.
But there's still way more mouths to feed in Miami than there was in Atlanta. So,
and that could be a positive though. Tyreek and Waddle get so many eyes that maybe Jonnu just,
I don't think so.
I doubt it. But
I doubt it. I'm going to err on the side of caution and say downgrade.
I'll say this. I'll play Jonnu Smith at least 1 week this year somewhere.
Probably. Yeah. But either way, Jonnu Smith going from Atlanta to Miami. Zach Ertz going from Arizona to Washington. And for me, it's pretty much a wash because the quarterback play is probably going to be similar because I feel like that Murray and Daniels probably have a similar skill set. I'm hoping that, Daniels comes out and he's similar to Murray, honestly.
Yeah.
But either way, Ertz, targets are going to be about the same, maybe a little bit more competition for him in Washington, but at tight end, he's still the tight end one. It's a defense. It's a pretty good offensive scheme for the most part. And the only thing is they got that highly praised rookie there, Ben Sinnott. Now, the only thing is that I've heard things about him pass blocking also. But also Zach Ertz can't stay healthy.
He's old.
And
didn't he retire at one point?
Man,
I thought he did, and then he just came back.
I guess he did, man. But I do feel like it's going to be like Logan Thomas again. He's probably going to get hurt some, but he's going to have those games, 7 targets, 5 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown, coming out of nowhere. But the Ben Sinnott kid is interesting, and I'm going to talk about him here in a minute. And a matter of fact, let's just talk about him right now.
Yeah.
Ben Sinnott, tight end, drafted by Washington. And there's been a lot of praise about his playmaking ability. And, I want to say somebody on one of the fantasy shows said that they had a beat writer say that the coach said that they're going to use him as a halfback in some situations. I don't know what to think about that, but the Sinnott kid is supposed to be a very athletic, like Hayden Hurst type tight end.
6'4", 247. So, he could be kind of like that H-back, fullback type of thing and, line up in the backfield, but still be a pass catcher.
Yeah, so it's a decent quarterback situation for him. And he is going to eventually supplant Zach Ertz, when he's ready or if he gets hurt. So great situation for Ben Sinnott. And we know Jane Daniels doesn't mind throwing to his tight end. We've seen it at LSU. And in this scheme, because we've seen Logan Thomas be successful when he was healthy.
Who's the OC in Washington? I know the head coach is Dan Quinn. Let me see. Commander's OC. Oh, it's Cliff Kingsbury.
There you go.
Kyler Murray, huh?
Yeah. So, good news for Jane Daniels on that, at least.
Yeah, and we saw Zach Ertz perform with Kingsbury a little bit. We saw Trey McBride a little bit. Like, Arizona's had a decent amount of tight ends that have worked. So that's not a bad situation at all.
Yeah. So, anyway, Ben Sinnott in Washington. The other tight end, rookie tight end, I want to talk about Brock Bowers. We alluded to that a little bit earlier. I mean, supposed to be the next Kyle Pitts, right?
Yeah.
Coming in, but really coming into a not so great quarterback situation. And the coach is already talking about his blocking. Mike Mayer was already a highly touted tight end prospect, and he's not listed above him on the tight end depth chart. But I mean, if Pierce is as old school as I think, and if he's like a lot of those old school coaches, if you're a tight end, if you can't block, you can't play.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think they're going to do that with their first round pick, but it could limit how much he is on the field.
Yeah, and like we mentioned, maybe if it's a one tight end set and they're going to run the ball or something, then they lean Mayer. But if they're in a 3 receiver set with a tight end, you bring in Bowers because it's a passing situation.
Or you play both of them and put them in the slot like we talked about.
Yeah.
And then you got Jacoby Myers.
Bowers is awesome. He's awesome.
But the thing, you still got Jacoby Myers and Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Man, that's a lot of mouth to go.
It is.
But
at the same time that could be another one of the more is better for him. Because Kyle Pitts didn't have really anybody around him whenever he debuted.
Yeah.
So maybe this will be a good thing, and he'll be kind of forgotten.
Brock Bowers to the Raiders. I don't think I'll be drafting him just because I can't. I think he's pretty far up there on
Number
the draft
13.
boards. Yeah, I mean that's a lot for somebody.
So, right ahead
in
of
this kind of a situation to me.
Dalton Schultz, Cole Kmet.
Gosh, I'd much rather have Cole Kmet and Freiermuth. I think both of those will be a top 10 at the end of the year, personally.
Yeah.
But anyway, Brock Bowers going to the Raiders, and last but not least, a guy that I alluded to earlier that I told you we talk about, Jared Wiley for Kansas City. Okay, and I just heard this today, and one of these analysts were talking about that these beat writers have been saying it is almost scary how much he resembles Travis Kelce on the field with his awareness in space, his route running, like how unconventional, like Kelce might not run the right route.
He's not the normal type.
But he ends up being open.
Yeah.
And that's what they say this guy does.
Yeah, that's the number one thing that we've said for a decade now about Kelce is how is he keep getting open?
I don't have much information on him except for that's what I've heard. Two analysts say they heard from multiple beat writers say this guy does that.
Yeah.
Like he gets out there and just somehow gets open. He's not deceptive. He's not super athletic. But he catches the ball well and he gets open. So just a little tidbit, somebody to keep an eye on as we go through. And if, say, he works his way up the depth chart, Kelce hits that wall and gets hurt or something, like it's going to happen eventually. It could be Jared Wiley.
He's a 4th round pick, so it's not like they just threw out like a 6th rounder or something. 4th round's an actual pick. If you go to his ESPN, 3 months ago, there was an article, did the Chiefs draft Travis Kelce's successor at tight end? So that right there, there's plenty in there that's giving you information that's saying, maybe this is possible. And Andy Reid, it says, favors multiple tight end formations. They were 4th in the NFL in that last year. So,
and I mean, and who's to say this year they don't use Kelce as a decoy more?
Yeah.
And then
this is the year that Kelce finally gets banged up.
Yeah.
So it's got to happen eventually, or he.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I mean, dude, how old is he? 34, 35?
Got to be.
I mean, he's getting with Taylor Swift. He's probably like, man, I'm ready to start a family, but I'm not doing it until I get hurt.
He'll be 35.
You know what I mean?
October 5th.
Like, so anyway, but Jared Wiley, keep an eye on that tight end for the Chiefs. Rookie got drafted. Just keep an eye on that. But that's going to round it out, guys. Yep. I told y'all that was a little bit quicker.
I think we're right at an hour for that one, so it's not bad at all.
A little bit quicker, but I promise I'm gonna make them quicker in the future, guys. Because we're not gonna have.
This is our first one.
So many. Well, this was so many people too. There will not be near this many people in the future for each pod. So
I mean, like the breakout list will be like 2 or 3 names each.
Yeah. So
not 15.
No, it'll be probably 10 or so players.
And we've given you. I mean, some of these names we mentioned today will be the names we talk about in the future.
That's right.
We've already covered. So
yep.
Yeah, these are the longer episodes, but oh well.
Yep. But we appreciate everybody listening. Thank y'all. Please like, subscribe, download, give us some feedback, comment, let us know. We really appreciate, we love doing this, as you can tell. And we love to hear back from y'all, what you want to hear more of, what you don't want to hear more of, Yep. I mean, obviously we know we need to make it shorter. We're working on that, but I mean, other than that, we're going to try to keep them coming out consistently. And, we're just excited to be back, and we're going to keep trying to bring y'all the best observations and notes that we can. I mean, I've told y'all before, I probably got at least 3 to 4 podcasts with multiple analysts that I listen to on all of them. And I'm just going to try to get y'all a conglomeration including my opinion and a conglomeration from their opinions, and try to bring it to y'all all on one podcast. That's what my goal is with this.
Yeah.
And so we just appreciate everybody. Y'all keep following us, keep listening.
Keep chasing that trophy.
We'll come out with some new stuff sometime next week, and y'all keep chasing that trophy.
This ain't how it's supposed to be. It should be just you and me.